You can't do what I do because I'm at an age where I have lesser time than you and I need to do more work. You have more time, but please don't mistake it for allowance that you can relax and lay back and not do anything. It's now more than ever that you have to start right now. Hi everyone, welcome back to the video series TFSA, where we talk about all things TFSA. So in episode 3, we are talking about I'm ready, now what, right? Before we dive any deeper, let's go into some disclaimer. This is not formal financial advice. All contents that you're watching here are for educational purposes only and are based on my personal experience. Always do extra reading after consuming any financial content on the internet so that you know what you are exposing yourself into. Remember, you are responsible for your own money and you are responsible for yourself. Nothing more, nothing less. And back to the video. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's start with question 1. Where to consume content and research? Again, do not believe financial content creators across all platforms 100%, right? I know you've been reading, watching, scrolling many content creators. But what you do is when you watch many of them, right, there will be a common denominator for it. Let's take, for example, VFV, right? The Vanguard ETF that tracks the S&P 500. I think a lot of them talk about it. It's quite safe. Again, same thing. I'm saying it. Don't believe it 100%. What you could do then? You heard it from 5 different content creators. Take VFV, Google it. What is it about? Go into their product page. I'll put a link below. Not sponsored, just easy access for you. Read up on what they are holding. How the yield is like, look at their 1, 2, 5, 10 years performance. If it all checks out, okay, good. I'm ready to buy that. But let's say you're sitting on $1,000 and you want to start your TFSA journey. Don't put the whole 1,000 into the VFV alone. That's number 1. If you just want to go into VFV alone, fine, but do not throw the whole 1,000 on day one. Because as a new investor, you don't know where you are in the market. The market could be oversold, overbought, too high, all-time high, crashing, so you don't know where you're at, right? And you don't want to conduct so much research just to know where you are at that time. So what you do is you stagger your buys. You got $1,000, start with 200. Then maybe the balance 800, you divide them into monthly buys, weekly buys, or daily buys, so that you are averaging the cost as it moves every day, because it's not fluctuating very violently. So eventually, yes, you're averaging upwards, but very small. So if the market is going down, then you average down. But if you feel that you have the confidence that it's doing well, then you just buy a bit more so that you average down faster. Okay, next is what to buy. I'm not going to give you a list, but let's go through the criteria before you dive in your fun journey. Number 1, start with ETF, exchange traded funds, which is a basket of stocks, right? Not just single stock. Why? Because it's less volatile than single stock. If you look at the first week of February, where the software market tanked about 20-30% out of nowhere, oversold. Everybody got dragged down with it. But if you look, let's say Nvidia versus the QQC or the S&P 500 VFV, you realize the drop is not as big, it's not as much, because it's broader market. Only the tech is affected. Where you want to be at is that you want to be somewhere stable for now, because you're starting with your precious money, right? You don't want to lose a whole chunk of it. Right? You have 30 to 40 years more ahead of you. You're in your 20s, you have 30, 40 years to earn money. You're not racing against the clock to earn it within 2 weeks and retire. So start with ETF, basket of stocks, then build confidence, build the yield, build everything before you decide, hey, maybe I can dabble into it, but not dabble too much. So the next thing is that, okay, ETFs, what now? Because sometimes when you ask ChatGPT, you are scrolling through TikTok or Reddit, as a person who is living in Canada, sometimes your searches are very American as well, because it's in the same region, right? So a lot of time people talk about POO, SPY. A lot of, even ChatGPT sometimes will give you these American-listed ETFs, right? They're doing well. They are doing the same thing. Maybe some of them track slightly better. But why I'm telling you to buy Canadian-listed ETFs is because, for all intents and purposes, we're talking about trading on Wealthsimple. So Wealthsimple, if you buy anything which is listed in America or US, you incur a 1.5 conversion fee, right? When you buy and when you sell, unless you have a premium account and then they give you the free US account, but that is in a very kind of distant future. So we are talking about you as a new investor. You don't want to start your investment where you are immediately negative 1.5%. You want to start your investment at 0 and you build. Not start at minus 1.5, then you build. Like I said, VFV is Canadian listed, which is equivalent to SPY or VOO. Let's keep one example, easy for you to digest. That's a lot. So let's say if you are indeed looking for something beyond VFV, right? You hear about SMH. Shit, man. SMH is actually the semiconductor ETFs in the US doing very well, very explosive because of data center build out. Then you want to buy it. But you realize it was US listed. Then you just buy. Then you didn't realize, shit, you bought a US one, then you start at slightly lower. And especially SMH is very volatile, then you don't know where you're going to go. You can always search, right? Let's say if you're looking for semiconductor, that's what I did. So what you do, can I get a Canadian equivalent of this ETF? Then usually Google or ChatGPT will give you a list of it. Again, take the list of it, then re-Google it. Let's say SMH, Canadian equivalent is XCHP, X-chip, I think. So you take X-chip, then you Google it again, see what's the performance. If you think you can tolerate the risk, then you go for it. Again, let's put VFV as a baseline, Canadian listed S&P 500 ETF for you to start with, then you can see where you go from there. Again, Canadian listed ETFs, alright? Start from zero, not start from negative 1.5. And especially when you sell, it's also under the 1.5, so technically it's 3% down. Okay, number 3, it's stable ETFs, not a super aggressive one. Again, VFV, stable, not so volatile, not so crazy, versus XCHP, which is a semicon ETF that I just mentioned about. Because this semicon ETF is very related to how the AI build up is now, right? Ooh, it's explosive, it's fire, it's now gonna make money, which they did, 50-60% last year compared to VFV, maybe about 18%, right? Ooh, you look at these numbers, wow, I'm excited, I'm gonna buy it. And the next thing you know, 50% up, can be 50% down. Like what happened to silver, right? Silver from December 2025 to January, it went up 40%. And towards the end of January, when that sell started happening, for don't know what reason, from the highs, it went down about 30-40%. So imagine you catch it at the wrong place and you dump a big amount of it, and shit. So you go, let's say you dump your 1,000 and then drop 40%. Then you're left with 600. Within a week, you're like, ooh. So $400 loss to some of the Canadians who want to start investing, who are on minimum wage. 400 could be a week's salary, which is about 20 plus hours of work. Just down the drain for that week. It will recover, but you feel very demotivated when you see this, right? You work, you get paid, you make a bad decision, then you lose money. You're like, should I keep doing this? I work 20 hours, bending my back backwards, and I just lost money, right? So I don't want you to go through that. I want you to, heck yeah, there will be some stress, but it'll be manageable, okay? With that criteria that I've listed, let's go to the next question. How to buy this ETF, right? So what we're going to do is, the plan to buy is actually to set and forget, okay? Because what we're going to do is to build your good habits in investing. Start with any amount that you're comfortable with. Let's say you get a paycheck of 400, you can set aside 20 for the week after minusing everything. Of course, gurus will tell you pay yourself first. If you can do that, good. You think that you can pay yourself first $50 instead per week. Then you pay yourself 50 times 4 is 200. Oh, so you got 200 a month, right? Or you pay weekly, bi-weekly, depends how you're paid. So once you get your money, after you pay yourself or after you adjust for all spendings that you have a leftover, whatever that is comfortable for you, because you still need to live this crazy society right now. So for example, you got 50 a week, which is 200 a month. Okay, so back to VFV. From the 50 a week, then you buy 50 a week. Or if you think you want to be a bit more conservative, you buy 25 a week, half of it. The other half you hold as ammo in case the market crash, or in case you want to branch out into another ETF, which is more, say, tech-driven, like QQC. But you want to start at VFV as a benchmark. Start and be consistent, right? Market will fluctuate. It will reward you in the short term. Who knows? It may punish you in the short term. It can go either way. That's why you go all in. You can go slowly, right? Just bit by bit. If you want to really even out the dollar cost averaging again, instead of weekly, you buy daily. So 25 divided by 5. Instead of 25 a week, you buy $5 a day. So it catches every ups and downs. So it's a smoother line when you proceed over time. To also maximize where you want to invest more, right? In your TFSA, it's always good to have a budgeting sheet, like an Excel sheet, to know where every dollar goes, right? Same like what I mentioned in the previous video. Ooh, how many coffees I had this month? How many bottled waters I buy? How many bubble teas did I have? How much did I spend on lunch? Can the lunch be cheaper? Can it be more affordable? Instead of Chipotle, $17 bowl, can it be a Subway, which is slightly cheaper, still edible? Or, like I said, quote, bring down the cost, bring it down, then you have extra few dollars to invest. But again, up to you where you think that you need to live. I don't want you to torture yourself. Oh, if you go through my regime, I think you're going to say, oh, Daniel, you're crazy, I can't do that. Start now. So by the time when you reach my age, you are at a better position where I'm at today. That is very important. I want that to be your goal so that you are financially more stable, because nothing here in Canada in the next 5 to 10 years, I don't think anything is going to get easier. It's going to get worse and worse. You can always complain about the government or everything around you, but the only person who can make the change is yourself. You change yourself, change the decisions you make, lesser bad decisions, then you move, bring yourself higher, right? If you always complain about the external factors, it's not going to go anywhere. But what you do, you fix yourself, then everything will come through well eventually, right? So the next thing is to talk about when to buy. Of course, the very common thing is buy low, sell high. That's the dream, right? But you don't know where you are in the market. You are new, but you want to start right now. But like I said, start smaller and then see where the market goes. Of course, if it crashed like in the first week of February, if it just had a weird crash out of nowhere, even back in April 2025, where Trump announced the liberation tariff, everything went down like 20%. Alright, pick up the pieces a bit more whenever you can. Don't take a loan, don't take some credit card debt, don't hedge something somewhere that it's not yours and think that you can put it here to make more gains. That's already gambling. That's not investing, alright? Don't go take, hey, can you borrow me $100? And then you put it in because you know that it's going to go up, right? It's going to go down, it's going to go up. Then the next thing you know, you go down some more, right? If you go down some more, you don't have the money, then you got to wait it out, right? At the start of investment, somewhere, somehow, you will be punished and you're going to hate it, right? It's not rewarding, it's slow. You'll be like, oh, what am I doing? But if you go and do, again, bad decisions, borrow money from someone or somewhere, especially a financial institution, where there's a contract, you buy hoping that it will go up. That's gambling, that's not investing. So when that person start calling for that debt, how are you going to answer, right? So what you did here is effectively created more debt and started investing, right? So if you have extra money, you can buy. If you run out of extra money to buy during a dip, it's fine. You got to wait it out. You have 30, 40 years for it to go back up. Should and it will go back up. Not a guarantee, but if you've seen charts over time, it's doing quite okay, right? Recovery periods can be a bit long during crash. 8 months, a year, 2 years. If you look at the 2008 crisis, crazy, but it's fine. You are in a stable VFV ETF, you will recover, alright? Today, you watch this video, I want you to put a pin on your calendar, mark the date. Actually 2026, I suppose, hopefully. Mark the date that you watched it. 6 months later, come back. Have you already started? If you have started, how much have you grown since you started, you know? You feel free to leave in a comment, right? Hey, I watched this on this date. Then 6 months later, I right now up $20, $30. I'm up 5%, up 10%, which is very good. Right, conservative annual gain is about 8%. If you're up 10%, okay, you're doing above the average, right? So if you were to ask me what to start with in this episode, I would tell you VFV for S&P 500 market. If you want to start with that, broad market, top 500 companies in the US. But there's one more I always like to talk about. It's very surprising, which is the VDY, the Vanguard Canadian ETF. I'll put the name right there. Surprisingly, for the past year, it is doing better than S&P 500 because most of the sector that it's holding is in financials, covering most of the big banks in Canada, which are doing very well, and they are continuing to do very well despite crashes like in the first week of February. They are not really affected by it. It is doing very well. I was sharing to another new friend recently that they should start their TFSA. Of course, I copy and paste a lot of the similar messages that I sent to other friends before. So when I was redoing the messages, I was saying that if you want something much safer, look at VDY. Right, one of the colleagues was doing. He said he was bragging about it. It was one of his only holding. He talks as if that he has conquered investing, you know. It's up 30%. 30% of what? He only had 500. I asked him, why didn't you put more? I'm going to spend, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, I need to buy my food. I got no time to cook. Yeah, that's the excuse, right? If you have put more on VDY, which for the past 2 years, I think he started like 2-3 years ago. So if you look 2 to 3 years ago, if you look at VDY's chart very well, and then on top of that, on top of capital appreciation, you have monthly dividends that VDY gives you. So to come back to the message that I was sharing to my friend, right? I updated freshly. What I was telling her is that I moved my wife and mine joint savings together. We had about $2,000 at the start of 2025, give and take. But I bought into VDY at an X amount of money in July 2025 after the recovery was on the way up. It was really on the way up, right? It was a blind buy, right? I just took something and just dump it in there because we didn't want another fund. We just dump it into BDY. As of today, February 2026, it's up 22% in totality. 22% only through monthly contributions and capital appreciation and the monthly dividend that comes in. 22%. I wouldn't say it's the best. It's very good for something very stable. Nothing scary about it. Unless the big banks fail. Alright, so big banks fail, then I'm gonna have a headache about it. Those are the two ETFs I'll leave you with in this episode, VFV and VDY. Again, I'll put a link in the description below. Go and read up about it before you buy it. Alright. It's a very different strategy. VDY, of course, is more defensive, much more defensive compared to VFV, because VFV, top 500 companies, it includes the big guns like NVIDIA, the Max 7, because they are the top. So, of course, it will move slightly more violently compared to VDY, but as a broader market, it's fine. But that's all I'm going to leave you with today, because I don't want you to be overstimulated, like how some people like to say, right? So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. There are more to come. I hope to talk about my portfolio a bit more. I'm working towards it, but I want to get all this out of the way so that I paint a better picture as I move along, so that it's a better series for you to digest, right? I don't want it to be just an independent one. I want it to continue from the ones before, right? I hope you stay tuned to this series. Subscribe to the channel, add the playlist to your favorite or something. That would mean a great deal to me, right? So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.